Yeah, and we start recording already. Yeah, and
Okay.
so let's. Do you think we need to wait 5 more minutes?
Yeah, let's wait, let's wait, let's wait.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and then I
No
will.
worries.
Yeah.
Uh, Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for attending our webinar on the basics of still life photography. Now, why shoot still life? Other people would rather shoot portraits, landscapes, food. Why shoot still life? Well, okay, this is my stand on why I think people should shoot still life. It's always there. There is always some form of still life that you can shoot around you. Still life photography will challenge you. Why? It teaches you to see everyday objects creatively, and it teaches you to find different ways to express how you think still life should appear in your photography. Now, if you will shoot still life, well, people like to ask always, what gear do I need? Okay, you just need a camera body and a camera lens. It's that basic, folks. However, you might need some optional gear. Like, uh, I sometimes shoot still life, and I have a speed light, an external flash, which I don't mount on my camera. I trigger it off camera using a radio frequency trigger and receiver. And I also bring a 5-in-1 reflector with me sometimes. It does come in very handy. Okay, a little discussion of the basics of photography when it comes to still life photography. What ISO should you use? My stand about this is, well, that's up to you and the amount of light that's present. If you have a lot of light present, you can lower your ISO. You have less light present, I encourage you to raise your ISO. However, as a rule, for me, I don't use auto ISO. I'd rather choose the ISO myself. I don't want to leave up the choice of the ISO to my camera. What shooting mode can you use for still life photography? Okay, you can use program, aperture priority, shutter priority, manual, but just don't use auto mode. I don't think you have enough creative options if you rely on auto mode. Now, okay, this is a common question people like to ask me. What's the perfect aperture and shutter speed that they should use if they're shooting still life? Well, uh, really, there is no magic combination of aperture and shutter speed. You actually have more than one combination of aperture and shutter speed available to you. Just use what works for you and make sure you got the exposure right. But just remember, if you're shooting with a flash, shutter speed does not affect flash exposure. If you're shooting with available light, you can control the exposure using the lens opening and the shutter speed. If you're shooting with available light and flash, shutter speed will not affect flash exposure. The only way to control flash exposure is with your lens opening. Also, I'd like to remind the people out there, uh, make sure not to exceed your maximum flash sync speed when you're shooting with a flash. What happens if you exceed your maximum flashing speed? Well, basically, the second shutter curtain, the rear curtain will appear in your shot, and this is what happens. Now, a lot of my work, a lot of the stuff I shoot gets printed. In a while, you will see some photos that I shot for an exhibit, and because I had to print those photos, I cannot stress enough the importance of calibrating your monitor. If you calibrate your monitor, you are more confident about how to post-process your images to make them print better. And because the print will more or less be a close match to what you see on your monitor, you save time, money, and effort. Right now, I'm using the Spider 5 Elite. Uh, it's a great upgrade over the Spider 4. I'm using it on my laptop and on my desktop monitors. Now, I'm going to show you a few examples of still life photography that I've done. And along the way, I will ask you questions. Oh, yeah, guys, sorry, I forgot to ask something. Uh, okay, let's go back to this. Okay, so I'd like to ask uh, who among you calibrate your monitor? Please feel free to answer. Okay, that's nice. Okay, okay. Okay, people are answering. People are answering. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, and let me close this. Okay, and okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, it's nice to see that a majority of you actually calibrate your monitor. Now, I got another question, and this is directed towards the majority that answered if they calibrate their monitors. Okay, so guys, how often do you calibrate your monitor? Okay, let's see now. Okay, this is good to know so far. Oops. Mm, mm, okay. Okay, we have the answers coming in. Okay, I'll leave the poll open just for a few more seconds. Okay, and I'm gonna close it. Okay, here we go. Okay, now guys, okay, this is the thing. If you're using a desktop monitor, you are highly encouraged to calibrate your monitor once every 2 weeks. Yes, that often. I repeat, if you are using a desktop monitor, you are highly encouraged to redo the calibration of your monitor once every 2 weeks. However, if you're using a laptop, okay, a laptop is trickier. If you're using a laptop, you have to redo the calibration each time you move to a different location. Why is this? Uh, the ambient light affects monitor calibration. Your desktop stays in place, however, a laptop is portable. So each time you move it to a different location, if you like to work on the go, the ambient light will change. So if you're using a laptop, you have to redo monitor calibration each time you go to a new location. So, mhm, mhm. Okay, hold it. Mhm. Okay, now I'd like to show you a few examples of the still life photography I've done. Okay, and okay, so I'd like to show you this. And okay, I'd like to ask the people out there a question. Okay, and what is the question? Okay, take a good look at the photo. Okay, and this is my question. Uh, was this shot using a flash, ambient light, or both ambient light and flash? And let me do a poll. So let's see how many people can get this right. So was that shot with ambient light, a flash, or both flash and ambient light? Okay, and hurry up with your answers. I'm going to close the poll in about 5 seconds.
So Joe, so after you close the polls, you can also press the share result button, and then most of the audience can see the real, the majority of the people how it
Okay,
is revealed. Yeah.
okay. Uh, so let's see now. 3% said I used the flash. 43% said it was shot with ambient light, and 55% said I used both flash and ambient light. And I am proud to say that this image was shot using a flash. There was no ambient light used. What we did with the flash was that we put it low on the stone floor. Why? If you put it low on the stone floor, it shows better texture and better form. Okay. Now, I like this shot simply because the stone floor formed a pattern. And if you'll notice, I positioned the wooden chair diagonally to cut and break across the pattern and to make it pop out. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, now look at this, guys. Okay, so this is something informal, and you can answer it via chat. So my question is basically, was it shot with a flash, ambient light, or both? And guys, for this, you can just chime in the chat. Oh, hey, no one's answering. Come on, guys. Doesn't anyone want to guess? Was it shot using a flash, ambient light, or both flash and ambient light? Okay, and okay. For those of you who answered flash, yes. Now look at the shot. I wanted very soft light. So my camera was positioned off camera, fairly high to the right side. And what we did was we got a 5-in-1 reflector and just used the diffuser core and made the light from the flash pass through it. And that makes the light softer. Now I'd like to point something out. Uh, Light quality has nothing to do with the quantity of light at one point. For example, okay, look at these two shots. Our first shot, I used a lens opening of f4, shutter speed of 60, and I used ISO 100. And the light is very harsh. Why? The light in this shot is not diffused. It's just a bare bulb flash. If you look at the second shot, it's the same opening, the same shutter speed, the same ISO, and as you can see from the shadow that the faucet casts on the wall, the light is very soft. See, there the quality of the light can be different from the quantity. Okay, now, okay, so look at the shot, and I'd like to ask people attending this webinar a question. Look closely at the iron on the far right side of the screen. Okay, and okay, I just got a question. How well do you see the shadow detail of the iron on the far right of the screen? Mhm. Okay, people are answering. That's good. That's good. That's good. Okay, and I'm about to close the poll in a few seconds. Mhm. Okay, and okay, now another question, guys. Was this shot with the flash, ambient light, or both? And okay, this is a mixture of both ambient light and flash. Now, 55% of you said that yes, you could see the shadow detail. 44% said no, you didn't see the shadow detail. Okay, a few things about the shot. It's fairly dim lighting, and I'm relying on the sunlight coming from the left side, and I had to bounce sunlight back into the iron using a silver reflector to the right side of the iron. Guys, if this is one of the advantages of using the Spider 5 Elite to calibrate your monitor. Simply put, it's the major advantage over the Spider 4. If you calibrate your display using a Spider 5 Elite, you get better shadow transition. Okay, and let's move on. Okay, so this is one of my personal favorite shots. And as you can see, so you have sunlight coming through the window, lighting it, but is it really sunlight? Is it light from a flash, or did they use both? And the answer is, okay, this is a combination of sunlight and flash. However, there's a difference. The roof outside the window has a very huge overhang. So the sunlight really doesn't enter this window properly. So in the background, I think you see the fence. Okay, that's sunlight. Uh, to the left of the window, off camera, we had the camera flash. Again, it's triggered remotely, and we're diffusing it using a diffuser panel from a 5-in-1 reflector to soften it. And guys, this is important. When you mix your sunlight with your flash, and everything has to look cohesive. So if you look at the bottom right of the image, I'd like to point out the shadows. More or less, the shadows you produce with the flash for a shot like this, okay, it has to match the shadow outside produced by sunlight. You can't have the shadow from the sunlight going to the right and the shadow from your flash going in a different direction. That ruins the look of the photo. Okay, let's move on. Okay, and I got a question here. Okay, look at the shot. And, I'd like to ask my question again. Was the shot with flash, ambient light, or both? Okay, the answers are coming in. Okay. Okay, I'm going to close the poll in about 10 seconds, so get your answers in. Okay, and let me share this. So, 26% of you said it was shot with a flash, 35% I used ambient light, and 39% said it is both flash and ambient light. Okay, and what do you think I used? Okay, let's get the real answer here. This is shot indoors, and it's purely shot with a camera flash. Now, I'd like to point something out in the shot. Uh, Basically, I have a paper mache horse in front on the far right side, and I have two more paper mache horses, and they're a bit out of focus in the background. Now, if you'll notice, all of the paper mache horses, they're all the same shade of red. Now, see, this is why I have rim lighting or accent lighting outlining each shape of the horse. See, without the accent light, it would be hard to differentiate the shape of one out of focus horse against another. You just have a red mess. So one useful way to differentiate the shape of one visual element from another is to use an accent light to outline the shape of your visual elements. Okay, now if you look at this shot, okay, this is a friend's scooter. It's nice, and I'd just like to ask, well, very informally, do you think I shot this with a flash, ambient light, or both? Okay, I'm not gonna poll you guys, but feel free to chime in in the chat. And okay, it's shot purely with ambient light. You know, some people, ambient light works for them and they don't want to use a flash. That's perfectly okay. However, I'd like to point out a flaw in this photo. See, my problem with the shot was that I was using a 50mm lens, and it's a prime lens, and I had to move closer to the scooter to shoot it. And as you can see, on the chrome of the headlight on the right side, you can see my reflection. Guys, this is a major tip. If you will shoot reflective surfaces and you don't want your reflection to appear, sometimes you do want to use a longer focal length to avoid this mistake of mine. You want to use a longer focal length so that if your reflection does appear on the reflective surface, your reflection will be smaller. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Okay, look at the shot. And, I would just like to ask you guys, okay, I'm going to poll you again. Was it shot with flash, ambient light, or both? Okay, oh, the answers are coming in. Okay, I'm going to close the poll in about 5 seconds, so get your answers in quickly. Okay, nice to see. Some of you are getting it right. Okay, and okay, let me close this poll. And I will share it. So, 43% of you said that it was shot with a flash, 32% said I used ambient light, and 25% said that it was shot with both flash and ambient light. So, who among you got it right? And I'd like to say it was shot with ambient light only. See, I like the existing ambient light, and it was soft enough to fulfill my aesthetic vision for the shot. If the ambient light is good, there's no need to supplement it with a flash. Now, people often ask me, was it perfectly okay for me to crop the rear wheel of the bicycle? And I said, yes, of course. It's perfectly okay to crop the rear wheel of the bicycle. Well, I felt it was okay for the shot. A bicycle isn't like a human being. See, when you shoot portraits, don't crop the person at any of the natural joints. Uh, you know, it's perfectly okay to crop the bicycle this way. Once again, it's okay to do what you want to do for as long as it fulfills your sense of aesthetic vision. Okay, now, okay, here's a tricky shot for you guys to look at. Okay, so it's another bicycle shot, and okay, informally, I would like to ask you, was this shot with flash, ambient light, or both? And hmm, the answer is okay. This is a mixture of sunlight and a studio strobe. Uh, okay, now look at this. I had a 400-watt studio strobe setup, and just to keep the light soft, I'm using a large softbox. Why? The larger your softbox, the light is softer. And to make it even softer, to make it even more softer, sorry, to further soften the light, I've positioned the softbox closer to the flowers, the basket, and the bicycle. Why? The closer you put any light source to your subject, you are making your light source softer. Some people say if you move the light closer, it becomes stronger. So shouldn't it become harsher? No. Moving your light source closer to your subject will make it softer. If you move your light source further away from your subject, it becomes harsher. Now, if you notice for the shot, I'm using ISO 100, a very low ISO, and I'm using a shutter speed of 1 over 200. Why? A low ISO and a fairly fast shutter speed that darkens the available light. Makes the bike pop out more since I am lighting the bike with the studio strobe. The hardest part about this shot really was the flowers. I had to light it in such a way that the texture would be evident and pop out. And can I just tell you that the hardest flower to light in this bouquet was the white one. Oh, that really gave me a hard time. Okay, let's move on. Okay. 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 So, look at the shot, guys. And of course, I would like to ask you this question. Was it shot with flash, ambient light, or both flash and ambient light? Okay, answers are coming in. We have some participants saying it was shot with a flash, others are saying ambient light, and others are saying mixture of both flash and ambient light. Okay, I'm going to close the poll in about 5 seconds. Okay, and let me just share it. Okay, so 10% of you said it was shot with a flash, and 52% said ambient light, and 39% said it's a mixture of both flash and ambient light. So, did I shoot the window using a flash, an ambient light, or both? And it's purely ambient light. Now, a few things about this. If you'll notice, this is one effect of using harsh light, whether it be flash or ambient light. If your light source is very harsh, your shadows are darker and they have a very hard edge. If your light source is very soft in quality, then your shadows are lighter black in color and they would have a soft edge. Now, this shadow was very important to me. Okay, it was very important for me to make the shot work. Why? Number one, the shadow has to be there to let you know that the window on the right is open. Number two, as you can see, the window pane and the other pieces of wood, they're perfectly aligned to the edges of my frame, and more or less that makes it too balanced for me. And I needed a shadow to create a diagonal line to introduce some visual dynamism to my shot. Okay, and okay, here we go. So, doing it, and so, did I shoot this using a flash, ambient light, or both flash and ambient light? Guys, make a guess. What do you think? And the answer is this is shot purely using a flash, specifically a 400 watt strobe with a 90 by 120 centimeter softbox. Now, if you light anything from the front, the tendency is you'll make whatever you're shooting look flat. See, this is the reason why we've put the studio strobe on the far left. Is to show the form and the texture, and we'll move it very, very close to the sculpture to make the light even softer. I wanted the proper balance between texture and keeping some details soft. Now, once again, I'd like to point out the difference in light quality and how it affects your shadows. The image on the left, once again, we have harsh light. So what does harsh light do? Harsh light will produce darker shadows and shadows with a harder edge. Soft light, it produces shadows that are lighter black in color. They're not that very dark, and the shadows will have a softer edge. Is soft light better than harsh light, or is harsh light better than soft light? As you can see, for both shots, you can use harsh light and soft light effectively. See, part of what you should learn as a photographer is when to use harsh light instead of soft light, or when to rely on soft light instead of harsh lighting. Okay. So, okay, this is probably one of the first images I ever shot with my Canon 7D Mark I when it was still brand new. I went out just to shoot still life. And, okay, very informally, was that image shot with a flash, ambient light, or a mixture of both flash and ambient light? And it's shot with a flash. It's a camera flash. It's positioned off camera on the upper left side, coming in from behind the teapot and the teacups, and we've diffused it. Okay, I wanted to give the shot a very light and airy feeling, so I wanted lighter shadows, and that's why we're diffusing it. If you'll notice, once again, the background elements are a bit out of focus. So because the way the light is positioned, it's creating rim lighting. It defines the shape of the handle of the teapot, the spout of the teapot, and the lips of the cups. Now, I did do a trick for this shot. If you'll notice, there are wooden pieces of wood in the back, and they are diagonal going from the upper left-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner. But the teapot, the teacups, and the tray that are on, it's a diagonal line, but it goes from the upper right-hand corner to the bottom left-hand corner. So essentially, it forms an X. If you can make strong lines crisscross against each other, and it will pop out more in your image, and it adds visual impact to your images. Okay, so okay, this image. It's one of the images I shot in the pottery workshop of Ugo Bigyan here in the Philippines. Okay, and okay, I'd like to ask you, uh, do you think I shot this with a flash, ambient light, or a mixture of both? And okay, once this is shot with both using ambient light and flash. Basically, the ambient light is coming from the window in the back. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner. Okay, the sunlight is coming through the window. It's illuminating the window and the floor on the left side. On the right side, we had the camera flash triggered remotely. It's just a speed light with a radio frequency receiver, and we're diffusing it. Once again, my favorite diffuser for shots like this, it's the diffuser panel of a 5-in-1 reflector. It's very handy. And basically, the flash and the diffuser, they're coming in at a 90-degree angle to my camera lens. It's perpendicular. I wanted good side lighting to show the form of the branches and the birds, and that side lighting is showing, once again, it's giving me a good rim light on the branches and the birds. See, one purpose of rim lighting is to make your subject pop out against an out of focus background. Another reason why I like to use rim lighting this way, it makes my subject look more three-dimensional. Now, this is the danger of side lighting your subject. At one point, when you side light your subject, texture is exaggerated. See, if you front light your subject looks flat, but it hides texture. You side light your subject, it shows more form, but it could exaggerate unwanted texture. And for me, this is really the reason why I am diffusing my flash, to help hide some of the unwanted texture that I wanted to hide in the shot. Okay, so, okay, we got the shot of water drops. Okay, they're falling and hitting a leaf. And, I'd just like to ask everyone, do you think I shot this with a flash, ambient light, or both? Make a wild guess. Okay, I think it's fairly obvious that I shot this using a camera flash. The story behind the shot, we were out on location. Well, again, I was shooting still life with some of my friends, and it rained. And it had been raining for at least half an hour, and I got impatient and I still wanted to keep on shooting. So I walked around and I found this. Okay, now there was a little bit of cheating involved in the shot. The raindrops weren't falling properly on these leaves. So one of my friend, he got a leaf, positioned it off camera, and let the raindrops use the leaf as a funnel to make the raindrops form properly. Now, there was a bit of luck involved with the shot. Why? If you'll notice, I have 3 drops of water coming down. Why am I pointing that out? Well, odd numbers are just more visually interesting than even numbers. Typically, for me, if I can control the number of visual elements that I will use in my shot, I'll never go for like 2, 4, or 6. I don't go for even numbers. I like to go for odd numbers. Okay. So as you can see in the shot, what I have a blanket and 3 leaves. And once again, I'd like to ask you guys, was it shot using a flash, ambient light, or both? Okay, this was shot using a camera flash. Once again, it's off camera, it's triggered remotely, okay? And we're diffusing it using the diffuser core of a 5-in-1 reflector. Now, I did have a reflector also on the left side, okay, to fill in light on that side of this blanket. Now, a few things about the shot. Once again, as you can see, I have 3 leaves, so I really feel that odd numbers are more visually interesting than even numbers. If you'll notice, the leaves form a leading line in the form of an inverted C. And the blanket, the edge that's rim lighted, has its own line. And I like the way it displays because your eye could follow the leaf from the bottom left corner, go up higher to the middle, up to the right, and then from there your eye would follow the leading line formed by the rim lighted edge of the blanket. And it's a nice way to make your eye flow in a very controlled manner. You don't want to confuse the eyes of your viewer. When you confuse the eyes of your viewer, they'll just stop looking at the photo. Also, I'd like to point out for this shot, I was very careful with my lighting ratio. See, I measured both sides of what I was shooting. I made sure that there was adequate highlight and shadow detail. I didn't want that much highlight blown out. I didn't want deep, dark shadows. Guys, if you can invest in an incident light meter like those from Sekonic, I encourage you to do so. All right. Now, I have a print of this image, and for the longest time, it was just hanging in my studio. Okay, and I'd like to ask you, was it shot with a flash, ambient light, or both? And okay, this is shot purely with ambient light. Uh, Basically, I found this small wooden doll. It's a maquette, and it has jewelry on it. Well, of course, the jewelry is for sale. And what you see in front of it, the maquette is in a glass case, and I'm relying on the reflection of what's behind me. So I'm relying on what's behind me to reflect on the glass to give it some out of focus highlights. Okay. Why? It adds depth. A lot of people think that to show depth in your photos, it's the background that has to be out of focus or background elements. No. This is a trick I picked up from some friends who are videographers. Another good way to show depth in your photo is to use out of focus foreground elements. Okay? And so I have the shot here, and I'd like to ask everyone if you think if I shot it with a flash, an ambient light, or both flash and ambient light. And okay, this is lit purely with the flash. Once again, I'm using a camera flash. It's mounted off camera. It's triggered with a radio frequency trigger, and there's a radio frequency receiver in the flash, and it's diffused light. But we position the flash parallel to the surface of the table, and it's just a few inches above the table. Why? I wanted to create rim lighting on the edge of this bowl where you see the spoons, and that way there would be a shadow that would go into the bowl to better show its form. And I also want to show off the texture of the celadon spoons. Okay, now if you'll notice, look closely at the table. The table has wooden grain, and the wooden grain is not parallel to any of the frame edges. See, whenever I shoot anything that has wood, I always look at the grain. As much as possible, I want the grain to be diagonal to my frame. Am I willing to break that rule? Yes. There was this one time I was shooting food, and it was breakfast food. And the client said, do you think the shot would look better if the wood grain was diagonal to the frame. And I said, I think for this shot, I would want the wood grain to be parallel to the frame. And the client asked, why? And I told my client, well, we're shooting breakfast food, and that's your product. And normally, we associate breakfast with serenity. Well, we would all like to have a serene breakfast. For me, for this shot, I told my client, if we use diagonal lines with the shot of your breakfast food, visually it would be jarring. So let's just go for serenity. Guys, I'd like to thank Datacolor for helping to for organizing this webinar. Datacolor has been a long time sponsor of mine, and of course, I'd like to thank my friends over at Cathay Photo. I was in Singapore for Canon Photo Marathon. I gave a short lecture there, and they helped set up a food photography workshop for me while I was in Singapore. And I'm looking forward to seeing them again when I go back to Singapore in November for another round of lectures. Yeah, guys, if you want to see samples of my work, that's my website. And if you want to contact me via email, that's my email address. Guys, do you have any questions you'd like to ask? Okay, does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Hey Joe, you want to turn on your mic?
I am turned on my mic, and also maybe you can have your webcam on, so it's okay too. And
Okay, let me turn.
yeah, I am searching through some of them.
Do we have any interesting questions out there, Joey?
Yeah. So Jeff is asking about if you're using the external flash, what kind of gel you're using, or how do you really deal with the color temperature problem of the mixed lighting, etc.?
Okay. That's a good question. Number one, I don't use gels on my flash. For my flash, my favorite lighting modifier would be the diffuser core of a 5-in-1 reflector. Now, there is a trick if you will diffuse your light using a diffuser panel. You never put the flash right up to the diffuser. Why? If your flash is close to the diffuser, the light on the other side is small. So that's still a harsh light. See, one trick that we do to adjust the lighting quality, if we want our light to be very soft, we move the flash further away from the diffuser to make the lit area bigger. And we move the diffuser itself closer to what we're shooting, and that softens it. If we want our lighting to be harsher using a diffuser, we will move the flash closer to the diffuser and move the flash and the diffuser itself further away from what we're shooting. For mixed lighting, basically, that's not a problem for me since I like to shoot in RAW. All of the shots you saw, it was shot in RAW format. For my personal work, I don't rely on JPEG. I feel that RAW is very flexible. I like the additional detail I get out of it, and that additional detail translates very well once I print my work.
Okay.
Mhm.
And also one of them is asking about so he find he is asking with the spider, so is that he will look into the shadows detail even more, or how do they compare to the camera screen to the monitor? So which one do they trust?
Mm.
Yeah.
Joey, could you ask it again?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I blanked out.
Maybe I'm okay to answer these questions. So
Okay.
one of the audience is asking about. So usually when he shoot with the DSLR, he's so confident on the little screen, and then but every time when he put it back into their monitor, they find it so different compared to the small camera screen. So and then he will also always mention that which ones do they should trust with the color. So and I will always mention is you should only trust the monitor that you have calibrated. The
You
problem
know,
is
yeah, that's funny because I keep on telling my students,
yeah
just because you have that LCD
yeah
on your camera,
yeah
it doesn't mean that it's accurate.
yeah exactly
Yeah,
yeah
yeah.
yeah
Uh, I trust my calibrated monitor more than I do the LCD of my cameras.
yeah
Okay.
and yeah
Uh, you always with calibrated monitor.
yeah yeah and also for just like I can always mention is
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
camera screen, the small camera screen itself, you can always compare it with the iPad or iPhone. So, can you really trust the color on the mobile device? Uh, I will explain about like this is for this kind of device, they are built for you to use it outdoor. So that's why they are always more brighter or and always more contrast than most calibrated screen they expect because they want you to see the details even under very big sunlight. So that's why if you want to talk
Yeah.
about color accuracy, there is no way for only using a mobile device. You should come back to your computer and calibrate your monitor to make sure the details that you shoot it can be seen or cannot be seen, or which kind is the noise detail, how much you need to denoise. You can only trust a calibrated screen for that. Yeah.
Well, for me personally, when I do shoots for clients, I bring my laptop with me and I make it a point to calibrate my monitor right before I shoot, and I do it in front of the client. This way, I can assure them that when they preview the shots on my laptop or on while we're on location, uh, n- uh, they're guaranteed that what they're looking at is an accurate preview of my files.
Yeah.
Oh, hey Joe, we've got a question here. What is a good direction for putting the light facing to the
Basically the
subject?
subject.
Huh. Uh, well, for me, if you front light anything, it looks flat and you hide texture. You sidelight anything, you show form, but you exaggerate texture. A good way to understand this is, take a photo of a friend or a family member and, stand with your back to a window and have the window light front light your subject. Then go beside the window, shoot with the window to maybe to your right or left side, and have your friend also side it by the window and take another shot. And take note of the difference.
Yes. And someone is asking about will you use this small bounce card from the or when will you use this one?
Yeah, actually, that little bounce card, it's not really meant to diffuse the light. It's just more to produce a catch light in
Yeah.
the eyes of your portrait subject. I don't rely on the bounce card. I get better results using the diffuser panel of my 5-in-1 reflector.
Yeah. And when you shoot, do you immediately feel on the monitor like a laptop monitor? I mean he's asking whether you will shoot the image through a tethered monitor, a tethered camera direct to the computer, right?
If I'm shooting for a client, yes, I would shoot tethered from my camera to my laptop. However, like for the still life shots, that's personal work. Basically, I just relied on what I saw in my head, and I was pretty confident about my exposure, especially since I was using a Seconic incident light meter to get the exposure right and to balance off my ratio.
Yeah. And and some of the people is not really calibrating the monitor. I have a MacBook Pro. Is it easier to use the Spider? Yeah, yeah. I think if you manage to handle with the computer, using a Spider is a very easy kind of thing. Yeah.
Joey, I got
Yeah.
a special request here.
Yeah.
He's asking for my signature smile and waves. I'm just gonna do it for a few seconds. Okay, there you go, my signature smile and wave. Okay. Okay. Other questions. How many external flash units do I usually use? For all of the shots that you saw that were lit with the flash, I only use one. Normally, if I will shoot at the flash, I only have one. And okay, what's another question? Okay, what's another question? Oh, what sort of lens do I use? Well, typically when I shoot still life and I like to shoot close, as some of you have noticed, I rely on a macro lens. If I'm shooting still life with my 7D, I'm using a 50 millimeter macro lens from Canon. If I have to shoot still life with my 5D Mark III, it's a full frame. I use a 100 millimeter macro.
And there is one question I would like to answer is for Joseph, he's asking what is the best way to ensure the colors look good on 90% outside, they are not calibrated, just like if you upload your image to the Flickr, and how can you expect the people is looking good on that uncalibrated monitor? And in this case, I will always explain about that. If you are handling what maybe you are the person who touch up or retouch your image, you should calibrate your monitor. Unless if not, the problem will be you are trusting a wrong monitor to retouch your image. So maybe for some bodies, for the outsiders, they are using a calibrated monitor, they will find you retouch in the wrong way. So even for the reviewers, they are not using a calibrated monitor to review your image. But if you retouch your image, you should calibrate your monitor.
Okay, I have a question here. Do I use custom white balance or a preset? I'm shooting in RAW, so I can always choose whatever white balance I want during post-processing. However, there's a little trick I follow. If I want to get the colors right while shooting, I adjust my Kelvin. I have a simple rule about Kelvin. If you want your shot to have if you want to add a yellow cast to your shots, just raise your Kelvin. If you think your shot has too much yellow, always just lower the Kelvin. If you want to cheat, I keep on telling people, you want your shot to look more yellow, set your white balance to cloudy. If it looks too yellow, use a white balance of tungsten or incandescent. But once again, I shoot mostly in RAW, so I can just fine tune it during RAW conversion.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we have answered most of the question, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, and I think yeah, we need to mention about our promotion, our upgrade.
Okay, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, of course.
yeah. And yeah, for all the audience, we will receive our EDM that after you join our webinar, and then we will have a special discount to every one of you because you have joined our webinar. And just stay tuned with your email. Yep. Okay. So everything's good.
We're good, we're good, we're good.
Yeah, and then it's time for the beer. Okay. So
Okay.
so anything you need to follow up
No,
on?
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
Okay. So
Okay.
so let's see. Is there the cafe? Is it Shanming and Michael is still here? Maybe we can have
Mhm.
a group photo with the software.
Okay.
Let's see that here. Send webcam requests and also where's Michael?
Okay. Hi, Charmaine.
Yeah, and Michael and
Okay, there's Michael.
where are you, Shanming?
Charmaine's close to the door.
Yeah, Anita. Let's see webcam request. Okay, we can have a group photo right here. So
Okay.
yeah, let's see. Yeah, how come
Hi,
I shoot?
Anita.
Okay, okay, ready? One, two, three. Great. Yeah, see you in
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay, goodbye
Bye.
everyone. Okay, see you.
See you. Bye.
Bye bye. Peace.
Peace.